Mary's return in Georgie and Mandy's spinoff threatens to ruin Sheldon's Big Bang Theory story. Sheldon Cooper's legendary story, as told across The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon, has always had a careful, bittersweet balance. At its core lies a tale of social awkwardness, scientific genius, deep emotional wounds, and a complex relationship with his family, particularly with his deeply religious mother, Mary Cooper. But with the upcoming return of Mary in the Georgie and Mandy's first marriage spinoff, there's a growing concern that the Big Bang Theory canon could be inadvertently undermined. Mary's future appearances might deepen her character, but they also risk rewriting Sheldon's foundational backstory, and that could shake the core of what made his journey so compelling. As CBS leans into expanding the Young Sheldon universe, the line between spin-off ambition and narrative overreach grows dangerously thin. The spin-off's premise, a new family chapter, the Georgie and Mandy spin-off, officially titled Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, picks up where Young Sheldon ends, after the tragic death of George Sr. and Sheldon's departure to Caltech. The spin-off shifts its focus to Sheldon's older brother, Georgie, as he and Mandy navigate the chaos of early marriage, young parenthood, and continuing the legacy of the Cooper family in Medford, Texas. Set in the early 2000s, the spin-off offers a rich playground for emotional growth, comedic beats, and slice-of-life storytelling. But what makes the show even more interesting, and potentially problematic, is that key characters from Young Sheldon, including Mary Cooper, will remain part of the ensemble. This means the writers aren't done with Mary's story. And that, ironically, might become too much of a good thing. Mary's evolution, from devoted mother to series fixture. In Young Sheldon, Mary Cooper, played brilliantly by Zoe Perry, daughter of original Mary actress Laurie Metcalf, is given more nuance than ever seen in The Big Bang Theory. She's not just the Bible-thumping, well-meaning mother who drops in with judgmental wisdom. She's a fully realized woman struggling with a crumbling marriage, a genius son she doesn't always understand, and a faith constantly tested by real-world heartbreaks. Over 6 seasons, viewers saw Mary lose her place in the church, question her marriage, and finally reconcile her love for her children with her frustration over their life choices. After George's death, Mary is left shattered and emotionally fragile. Her future appearances in Georgie and Mandy will likely continue to develop her as a widow, grandmother, and mother-in-law, possibly softening her even more. That sounds great for Mary's fans. But there's a problem. The more layered and warm Mary becomes, the less she resembles the stern, snippy woman Sheldon described in The Big Bang Theory. The canon clash, Sheldon's Mary vs. the spin-off's Mary. In The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon's references to his mother paint a picture of a tough, no-nonsense Texan woman. She's unapologetically conservative, quick to invoke religion as an explanation for anything, and often shows little understanding of Sheldon's scientific world. Her appearances in the original series are often played for contrast. While Sheldon is rational and academic, Mary is emotional and devout. They love each other, but they exist on opposite wavelengths. However, Young Sheldon's portrayal of Mary has been far more empathetic and complex. And while that was initially refreshing, continuing this evolution in the spin-off risks creating a Mary that simply no longer fits with the older version played by Laurie Metcalf. If Georgie and Mandy keeps Mary in a major role, it could necessitate further character development, possibly showing her becoming more tolerant, less rigid, and more affectionate. That could directly contradict Sheldon's past statements. For example, Sheldon often implied his mother didn't believe in evolution and thought the world was 6,000 years old. But in Young Sheldon, Mary frequently struggles with, but doesn't outright deny, science. He said his mother was never proud of me unless I was in church, while Young Sheldon showed her supporting his academic success, even if she didn't fully understand it. Sheldon has mentioned several emotionally distant or even cold aspects of his childhood. Yet Mary in Young Sheldon has been portrayed as more loving than distant, even when exasperated. Reconciling these two versions of Mary becomes harder the longer she stays on screen. The spin-off risks tipping the scales too far into character reformation, effectively rewriting Sheldon's emotional foundation. Emotional continuity is key. The emotional continuity between The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon has always been one of the trickiest balancing acts in modern TV. Writers have had to craft younger versions of characters based on glimpses and offhand remarks, maintaining consistency while still telling fresh stories. For Sheldon, his childhood shaped who he became, an emotionally guarded adult with a superiority complex, chronic anxiety, and a desperate need for structure. His difficult relationship with his family, particularly the pain of losing his father and feeling misunderstood by his mother, served as the emotional scaffolding for much of his behavior. If Georgie and Mandy depicts a loving, functional Mary who continues to be a strong support figure long after Sheldon leaves for Caltech, it calls into question why he was so bitter or distant from her in adulthood. Why would Sheldon speak of his mother with such sarcasm if she was a warm and understanding widow who helped raise her granddaughter and comforted her children? More importantly, it threatens to reframe Sheldon's trauma. Big Bang Theory Sheldon didn't just struggle because he was brilliant and awkward. He carried the burden of a dysfunctional home. If the spinoff paints too perfect a picture, it reduces the emotional stakes that grounded his character in authenticity. The danger of retconning through familiar faces, there's an understandable temptation for Georgie and Mandy to lean heavily on established characters. Bringing back Mary, Mima, Missy, and possibly others is good business. It keeps the show connected to the larger Big Bang universe and brings in fans eager for nostalgia. But with every familiar face comes the danger of unintentional retconning. These characters were supposed to represent fragments of Sheldon's formative experience. Changing them changes Sheldon by proxy. The worst-case scenario, Georgie and Mandy become so focused on lighthearted family fun that it sanitizes the struggles young Sheldon worked hard to portray, and that the Big Bang Theory heavily implied. Mary, instead of being a flawed and complex figure in Sheldon's psyche, risks being reduced to a sitcom grandma dispensing wisecracks and chicken casserole. A way out, acknowledging the shift without erasing the past. There's still time for Georgie and Mandy to avoid falling into this trap. One solution would be to show that Mary herself is undergoing change. Perhaps grief over George's death pushes her to become more open-minded or more emotionally available. Maybe she regrets how she treated Sheldon or her over-reliance on faith as an answer to everything. In doing so, the show could draw a clear line between pre-Caltech Mary and post-Lost Mary. That evolution would honor both portrayals, the difficult woman Sheldon remembers and the more forgiving woman Georgie and Mandy interact with. It would also highlight a very human truth. People change, especially after loss. If Sheldon's childhood pain stemmed not from Mary's total failure as a parent, but from the emotional distance between them before her growth, then both portrayals,